Good morning, replay viewers and web viewers. Hi, Linda. I'm still later than 9:30, but it's closer. And I don't like that light in the background, but oh well. I'm perfectly set up to do it inside right here because I have to sit on I have to have everything like ultra coordinated. So I'm not going to get up and turn it off. But next time I'll know, don't turn the weird light on. Good morning. Nina, I just emailed you the Desire Map stuff. For those of you who didn't see it, I got a link where I can send out a big bundle of Desire Map stuff. Oh, you're welcome. It's an audio book, the digital workbook, some screensavers, the Fire Starters workbook, which was Mind Map. Is there someone doing a let's see. So if you want that, the Desire Map Workshop, yeah, it's really fun. So did you get that package of materials, Roseanne? If you want, I can email it to you. It's all free. And then you can listen to the audiobook and see if, see if it's something you're interested in. So good morning, everybody who popped in. If you'll message me your email address, or do I have it already? Then I'll send it to you. Today's our Tao Te Ching study day. Looking at the stories we tell ourselves about reality rather than working with reality as it is and staying connected and centered. We can get caught up in our storytelling about what's happening, and dismantling the stories is part of this process that we do every day. I have my little card handy. Someone from LJ, Georgia is calling me. That's very weird. I'm just going to ignore that. My name is Michelle Wolf. You can find everything I do at caddyshackdesigns.com. Right now I'm focusing on 2 Desire Map workshops, which is the process of taking a look at what you really want in life instead of what you think you want, and looking at goal setting in a different way that's more aligned with spiritual principles and God or source or whatever you call it. That gets left out of a lot of processes, and without it, it's not ultimately successful. It's easier if you do it this way, but sometimes it can take some digging into the stories that you have that are preventing you from staying in that alignment. So caddyshackdesigns.com is my website. Across the top is information, hey Danny, of everything that I do. And let's get started. So the Tao is an old book, 2,500 years old if you haven't been here before. How are you? Hi, Jana. Ancient text, but it's relevant. It has stayed relevant all these years, and it's aligned with everything that we study. It's in line. Letting go. I'm inside because I was going to take my heated blanket, and right as I was going outside, the condensation started to fall. So it's like it's raining under the deck because of all the condensation from overnight. So the Tao talks about doing without doing, which means you naturally stay in alignment with source energy. Right. We don't want any of that in my coffee. So chapter 18 is where we're at, and then we follow that with Byron Katie's book. So let's... Oh my goodness. Hello. Oh my. You fell on your little heads. My tripod was outside all night. So I bet as the rubber's warming up, it shifted positions. Ta-da! The joy of live TV. Live broadcasting. I drop you on your little head, so we just have to keep going. So last time was returning to the root. Today is acting simply. We complicate things so much by just not staying centered, connected, breathing, and a little less storytelling about what's going on, a little less arguing against reality. So true leaders are hardly known to their followers. Next after them are the leaders the people know. Yeah. Next after them are the leaders the people know and admire. After them, those that they fear, and after them, those that they despise. The best leader leads without leading. To give no trust is to get no trust. When the work's done right with no fuss or boasting, ordinary people say, "Oh, we did it." To give people the power to be involved in the process and lead without leading, so that you aren't one of the admired, the feared, or the despised, one of the leaders that's hardly noticed. You do that in your own life and in your family. You lead through inspiration, through quiet guidance, through teaching instead of lecturing, if that makes, I mean, it sounds the same, but it's not. The invisible leader who gets things done in such a way that people think they did it all themselves isn't one who manipulates others from behind the scenes. It's just the opposite. Again, it's a matter of doing without doing. Uncompetitive, unworried, trustful accomplishment. Power is not force. An example or analogy might be a very good teacher or the truest voice in a group of singers. So, if you're solid in your own life and you trust yourself, it's easier to give trust to other people and to... When we're anxious, our family's anxious. If we're a leader and we're anxious, our troops or our employees or the people we're supposed to be guiding become anxious. And they usually don't even know why, but they're reacting to whoever's out front's anxiety. The only way to be out front in your own life and not be anxious is to every day, many times a day, be aware of if you are asleep at the wheel or not. Be aware of what it feels like when you're connected to God and flowing in the river of life. It sounds cheesy, but in the flow, and knowing when you've fallen out of it through judgment or bad traffic, responding to the environment. So getting caught up in the show that's in front of you and forgetting about the show that's inside of you, because the more calm you are, the more calm everybody else is going to be. People pick up on too when someone has a lot of emotions that are being bottled up. Kids can pick that up really well. Pets pick it up. Your employees, your spouse. If you're sitting on top of a lot of pressure, even though you think you're hiding it, you're not. It's being reflected in everyone around you. And again, a lot of times people won't realize why they're on edge or walking on eggshells, but it's our personal responsibility to be aware of that and to deal with it, handle it. Handle it through feeling it and praying about it and coming back to center about it, but being responsible for it. So the second translation that we're using is Stephen Mitchell's. And his says, when the master governs, the people are hardly aware that he exists. Next best is a leader who is loved. Next, one who is feared. The worst is one who is despised. If you don't trust the people, you make them untrustworthy. The master doesn't talk, he acts. When his work is done, the people say, amazing, we did it all by ourselves. That's the best way to teach children, is to kind of set things up in such a way that they get the experience with guidance, but feel responsible for their experience. They feel like they did it all themselves. And that's okay. Because a good leader is not ego attached to credit. People who argue, I miss you too, Danny. Have a great day. Be safe out there. Danny's a police officer in Brighton, Colorado. Very good one. If you don't trust the people, you make them untrustworthy. If you don't trust yourself, you just add to your own anxiety. If you don't trust your ability to make change in your life, you create more anxiety. And you don't trust because you know a lot of people still think that trust means you're certain nothing bad's going to happen, which couldn't be further from the truth. You trust because you know your ability to ride the waves of the world is intact. You trust that you have overcome stuff and that you will overcome stuff in the future. Because like we've said, stuff doesn't stop happening. It still happens, but you trust your ability to get through it. Hello, husband. Hi, Cynthia. You know that, I guess true trust, you know that you have the strength. And you know that you have the skills, or you know where you can get help to develop the skills. So I always say that being intelligent is not remembering everything that you've learned. It's knowing where to access knowledge. It's knowing how to find answers. The best skill I think that you can give a person is how to use the library. Although now I guess the best skill to have would be how to effectively use Google. And not spend all day trying to search out a concept. Oh, bummer. That happened to Michelle the other day, and it happens to Catherine a lot. That's so annoying. Teach children where to find information, and don't worry so much if they... What are you doing, just pacing around?
Yeah, I'm figuring to get my ladder.
Okay. Don't worry so much about their grades and their... I don't know. Kids sometimes look like they're never going to make it, but they will. The Dalai Lama himself, absolutely and utterly defied schooling until at some point he hit it, and then he made up for it, and then some. So just hold steady in your faith that your kid's not going to be completely ignorant. Some kids come to it later than others at different times and in different ways. I don't know why I'm talking so much about kids. Who needs the kid information? 1,000 Names for Joy is the book that goes along with this Tao Te Ching translation. Excuse me. Both these. It goes along with the Stephen Mitchell translation. Yeah, letting go. Oh, you do. And Linda does. It's okay. It's okay. They'll get where they need to go. When I needed to learn math, I put my nose to the grindstone and I learned it. And I only learned it long enough to get through college. And then I forgot it all. So, what they need for their future experiences, they will get. Whether that comes in school years or later years, whether they go to college or they don't. I didn't go to college till I was 25. That's kind of late. Some people don't. I was in grad school with more than one, I'm going to say I can think of 5 off the top of my head, women after retirement. So they were in their middle to late 60s and they were getting their master's degrees. So chapter 17, being invisible. I love being invisible. There's no responsibility in it. No one to save, no one to teach. I'm always the student, open, excited, new. I'm always filled with what's beautiful. I'm the bottomless container that always has room for more. If I had a responsibility, it would be to help you realize your own truth. You see it, you say it, it comes from within you, and I am the witness. My finger points you back to you. You're all that's left of my existence for as long as you believe that you exist. A friend of mine had what people call a near-death experience. She was about to enter heaven, she said, but at the last moment, she was called back and she returned to the world to save us. She didn't save herself first, then come back for us, which is the proper order of things. The most attractive thing about the Buddha was that he saved one person, himself. The Buddha saved himself first. He did his own studies first. And it's interesting, the 40-day, 40-night thing that so many religions talk about that their leaders went through. There's references to 40 days in a lot of different texts and belief systems. And doing this process lately, this week or so, I guess it'll be a week tomorrow, of not letting myself off the hook. I was thinking the other day, if I sat under a tree and did this for 40 days, no wonder they stood up enlightened. Because it's hard work. And I can't imagine that after 40 days there would be much, if anything, left. It's like the instructions on an airplane for when the pressure drops. First pull your own mask on, then put your child's mask on. I know what it is to enter heaven and not look back. And I know the arrogance of thinking that people need to be saved. If I can walk into the light, so can you. You can't help us with your words. There it is over there, follow me. No, don't follow me. You do it first, then we'll follow. The savior thing is lethal. The concept that it's your responsibility 100% to save someone is destructive to you and the person you're trying to save. Because either they don't want to be saved, or they're just going along with it because they don't want personal responsibility in their own life. That's a disastrous combination. And I speak from personal experience on both sides of the coin. I don't ever see myself as a spiritual teacher. Of course you can use me by asking me a question. I answer you, you hear what you think I say, and you set yourself free or not. I'm your projection. I am for you no more and no less than your story of me. You tell the story of how I'm wonderful or how I'm terrible. You see me as an enlightened being and make me into an all-knowing guru or fairy godmother, or you see me as a Pollyannish New Age flake, or simply as a good friend. You give me to you, and you take me from you. All I have to offer is the 4 questions and the turnaround. I offer them so that you can disassemble your own identity. People say, I am so-and-so, I am solid, I am real, and though I respect that, I can never believe it. I know what I am, I know what I'm not, and I can only project that as everything. As people answer the questions, they begin to disassemble everything about who they think they are, everything frightening about their existence as they believe it to be. And as they disassemble the nightmare, they begin to notice that even the dream of what is beautiful isn't true. The good's not true, the bad's not true. The rose is not true, the thorn is not true. Until eventually there's nothing left but our own nature, brilliant, infinite, and free. By seeing the rose as preferable to the thorn, we've classified it and we've laid a judgment on it, so we're not seeing the reality. The crystal clear reality has no label on it, and it's seen with that beginner's mind, that absolute state of not knowing and simple curiosity. People can take inquiry home with them. They can have it for breakfast every day. The inquiry process is asking yourself, is this true? And if immediately you say yes, you ask, is this really true? And then you ask, how do you feel when you think that thought? How do I feel when I think the thought, I shouldn't be drinking so much coffee? I never think that thought. That's just an example. And then you ask, who would I be without this thought that's making me crazy? And then you turn it around. If you think they should be doing X, Y, or Z, you turn it around on yourself and say, I should be doing X, Y, or Z. Or they shouldn't be doing X, Y, or Z because they're not. Propane. We got a fresh new tank of propane. You never think that either. No. Don't be ridiculous. So, this is the same thing as teaching a person how to find information instead of always providing that information to them or demanding that they remember it all. Nobody's going to remember it all. You just need to be able to find it again. And that's what she's talking about here, is empowering people to take apart their own stories instead of you doing it for them all the time. It won't last. You know, I'm sure, from personal experience, that you can talk somebody into changing. But when you have to force the change, it doesn't last. So it sometimes people just become then subversive and they go underground and still do what you don't want them to do. Or they pretend to do it to your face for a while and then they just go backwards. Because change doesn't last unless it comes from within. Unless the motivation and the work being done is done from the inside out, it won't stick. Because change is hard work. This deletes me as the power and leaves me as something more powerful and equal, an equal possibility of peace, the student sitting with the student. This is the healthiest scenario, the scenario that deletes the teacher. And aren't teachers wonderful until they're clearly seen by the mature mind? I love it when my job is deleted. Why would I want to be seen as wise or holy? What would I have to gain in that but another story? That's just another story. Whatever realization I've had is for me. There's no way I can give it to you. And even if I could give you my realization, by that very act I would be saying, y'all, you can't do it, so I'll do it for you. That's very disempowering. You're not capable, so I'll do it for you. Let me just step in and fix your problem. Because you are not smart enough to figure this out yourself with a little help. I'd be teaching dependency and telling you that the answers are outside of you. I have nothing for you but the questions. Now, in the Desire Map workshop, I take people through this process. If they say something and I feel that impulse to grab it, we'll work through this, dismantling the story process. But I don't ever want to be doing that in a place of doing it for someone else. I don't think I've done that as a professional ever, because the point is to ask a lot of questions and to point things out, to shine a light on the blind spots so that people can see stuff for themselves. You remember it if you see it for yourself. If I explain it all to you, you won't remember it because it won't have come with the right timing. Does that make sense? Like, you need to have those realizations on your own with support and with guidance and with some minor levels of teaching, which I would see as support, but not dictating. Starting those questions about her test anxiety last week. How did it go? She's adorable, by the way. Your children are like, they look like the kids that come in the frames that you buy at the frame store. They're beautiful. All children are beautiful. Aren't they? I mean, they're just like, the beauty in children is their lack of self-consciousness. They're not judging themselves yet. It's the judgment and the anxiety that puts the strain on our faces. Kids' faces are open and so beautiful because they aren't pinched up by holding back. She's very invested in her story right now. I don't know if you guys saw Sarah Ballard's broadcast. She had a talk with her 9-year-old who is a perfectionist. and she was telling her 9-year-old about there's a voice in your head, and she called it a monster, and the little girl, I forget her name, Leilani, I think is her oldest daughter's name, and she was like, ooh, I don't want a monster in my head. And Sarah said, oh, well, okay, how about a fluff ball? And so she used this, Leilani, yeah. So she used that whole example of there's a fluff ball in your head that it wants your attention, and it tells you that you're no good at math, and it tells you that you're not cute enough, or, it tells you bad things, and it just wants your attention. So you just pet it on its little fluffy ball head and let it go. And I thought that was just brilliant, to teach a child that age that when she's hearing in her head, I'm trying to make room for a cat. I know that's like shocking. She said, yes, I am going to do poorly on my test. She knew you had an agenda. But even though even if she gets sarcastic back with you or whatever, or is joking back with you, she's hearing it. She's absolutely hearing it. But I really want to remember the fluff ball thing. There's a book called Taming Your Gremlin. That's a great book. It has you turn that voice in your head. Oh, that's great. Tanya, that's brilliant. Brad Yates is the EFT guy on YouTube. He's amazing. He's got scripts for everything. He's really pleasant to listen to, and he does EFT in a unique way that I really like. Brad Yates. If you Google Brad Yates YouTube, you'll find him. Teachers like that need to be taken out back to the woodshed. He is awesome. Brad Yates is awesome. Yeah, you're welcome. So, sometimes people will take those 4 questions and they want to jump right to the turnaround. But there's value in going through the process and really taking a look at how you think and how you feel when you're caught up in a story. So the worksheets are free, and you can download them at thework.com. Pretty simple. You can download all the worksheets you want. And I think now she has a worksheet that you can actually type into. Poor baby. So, unfortunately, a lot of thinker people will just rip through it really quickly and go, oh, yeah, and then they'll get to the turnaround. But going through the process of, I'm sorry, let me back up. She says, write down everything about a situation and how you feel about it and what you think the people involved should be doing to fix it. Like, what do you need them to do? What do you think they should be doing? And then she has you go through those thoughts, those statements that you wrote, sometimes in chunks and sometimes one by one, and apply that process. Is it true? Is it really true? The really good questions are, how do you feel when you think that thought? How do you act when you think that thought? Typically, you find you're acting in the way that you're judging in the other person. You find out that you're the one doing it, not taking it personally. Yeah, don't take it personal. And then you think about, who would you be without that thought? So, and sometimes people really struggle with that. So she'll say that you're in an accident and you get thunked on the head. And when you wake up, you cannot think these thoughts anymore. Who would you be? Yeah, the turnaround part's the tricky part. And then you have to turn it around and say, well, I should be doing this. I should be present with myself. I should be taking care of the problem. They shouldn't love me. Sometimes someone not loving you is a gift. Sometimes that's God saving you from a train wreck. Hi, Susan. Susan, I emailed you some desire map stuff yesterday. And they shouldn't love you because they're not. So if they're not, they're not. And that can be a real hard thing to let go of. And then, yeah, we can't know that they should do anything. People will say, well, that father, you're welcome. People should say, well, that dad should stay with his kids. He shouldn't leave his family. We don't know that. Maybe him leaving his family is the best thing that ever could have happened. We don't know. Maybe that mom leaving her family is the best thing she could have done for that family. We just don't know. Maybe had she stayed, more damage would have been done. We don't know. So, we like to think we know, don't we? I'm so guilty of that as well. We like to think we know what people should be doing. Even when we can look back in our own lives and see times that we did things people told us not to do and they turned out to be the very best thing we could have done. The problem is we're driving at night with headlights that only project 100 feet ahead of us. That's all we can see. It's just that little bit ahead of us. And we just have to trust that as we go, that light will continue ahead of us and we can keep moving. But we have to stay focused on that light. And we have to not waste a lot of energy trying to see a mile down the road instead of 100 feet down the road, because we can't frickin' see it anyway. We're just spinning our wheels. It's energy you could use to wash the dishes or whatever. Those are so hard. I do that too. It's hard when children die because they aren't wearing safety gear. You don't know. You have no idea. The media is assisting in lynching the parents, right? And we have no idea. We have no idea. That's God's business. My business, your business, God's business. Oh, yes. It's a total relief to know that you don't have to know everything. You just have to know where to get it when you need it. If you understand that, if you can ask questions, if you know where to go when you need help, that's all you need. Just 100 feet ahead, a few steps ahead is all you need to see. There's a lot of pressure when you're in a high-level profession. There's a lot of pressure and a lot of responsibility, I'm sure. Just follow your heart, absolutely. There's a lot of fear and pressure thinking that you have to know it all at all times, when you really don't. Because when you're connected and you're already intuitive, your intuition will lead you to where you need to go with a person. I have studied so many theories of therapy and philosophy and religions and this and that. I had a woman in my class when I was a speaker at Blog Post conference in Nashville, and she was feeling bad about herself because she had studied so many different things instead of just one. But she worked with animals, and I was like, but you don't know what the animal's going to need, and you have now 6 things to draw from. So if you are like supposedly scattered around learning a bunch of different stuff, don't judge yourself for that, because you don't know when that knowledge is going to come in handy later. It's helpful to know how to talk to a wide range of people and how to use their language instead of just being versed in one language, my own. Yeah, they make you learn a lot to get registered as a psychologist, definitely, because you're going to encounter a wide variety of people. If you learn just one way, you would not be nearly as effective as I'm sure you are. Hello. Yeah. Well, everybody on here is going to be the type of person that learns a lot of stuff because we're naturally curious. Right. It's not. Have you heard the term multi-potentialite? Yeah. Yeah, the exam board probably didn't want to know that. Cynthia talks to her exam board. It's like, hey, don't worry, I got this. God will tell me what to do. I got it. I got this. I got a direct line to God, and He's my lifeline. Can you imagine? It would fail your exams for sure if you went in and said something like that. So the word multi-potentialite, it'll just come to me. And that's the truth. But you can't admit that. You can't say that in those circles. You can among other therapists if you're lucky enough to be around some good ones, or other psychologists who understand that instinct and intuition is part of it. No, it's not. It's Emily Wapnick. You had to fake it so bad. You're like, I am totally left-brained and have no spiritual component to anything that I do. I am totally non-spiritual. I am just a brain, a robot. It's not my term. Multi-potentialite is Emily Wapnick. It's MULTI. Yes, Google. She did a TED Talk, and she has a website called Puttylike, PUTTYLIKE. I love it. I love her, and I love what she's bringing into the world, because she is for all the people who learn. Yes, multi-potentialite. Thank you. If you Google multi-potentialite, yeah, on Facebook she's Puttylike, yeah, and she has a website, Puttylike. Oh, you'll love it. You'll love it. I'd already set myself free from feeling bad about knowing so many things and doing so many things, but the way she conceptualizes it and the way she works with people to figure out how to have all their interests under one umbrella is absolutely brilliant. Just brilliant. So she's like, you know, you don't feel bad. I know. I just found it like a month ago myself. I think she just did the TED Talk a few weeks ago. So it's brand new. But it's completely celebrating the people who get obsessed, dive into a subject, and once they learn it, they're done with it. Martha Beck is the same way. She dives in, she learns something, and then she's done with it. You've been really mad that you just move on and on. Yeah. She teaches you, or she talks about how to narrow it down, but you don't narrow it down to one. You narrow it down to the 4 or 5 that you are the best at or the most interested in long term. So you don't have to feel bad that you're a person who has to learn French and then goes and learns French and then is done with it and might not ever use it again. It's just how your brain works. Yeah. I was glad I'd already forgiven myself for that. You take a lot of judgment from people when you're like that. People call you flighty. I've been called flighty. I've been called flaky. I've been called irresponsible. So many interests, but not really doing with any of them. Just read. That's okay. You're stocking your tanks. You call yourself flighty. Yeah, it helped me a lot too. To me, that comes with being intuitive and creative, and you just have a lot of interests because you've got a lot of life force flowing through you. This is my opinion. Yes, me too. I love learning. Eccentric, yes. Eccentric is another one. Eclectic is another label that can be put on you. A little bit about a ton of things, yeah. So you just intuitively are aware of all the wonderful things that life has to offer. Even if you can't afford to go do things, you're compelled to watch travel shows or read cookbooks or experience as much of the world as possible. If you think about it, that's a real blessing. To be so curious and so alive that you, taking spiritual classes is a lot of fun. But if you are, so here's where desire map stuff comes in. If you are focused on, we have to do these things and then we have to do something with it, you're at a dead end if you're a person like generally the people are who show up here. I saw somebody come in. Hello to you. I missed the name. I just saw the color as it went by. You, to me, that's the ultimate expression of God and us interacting. So, if you go with, is it the Hindu theory that God exploded himself into a million pieces, and each one of those in order to experience everything at once? If you think about if God is everything and we're all God, tears, oh. Forgive. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. You're actually opposite. You're actually so not wrong. Yeah. So if we are God's way of experiencing the world, what better way? Oh, of course you did. We've all experienced that. It's been laid on us by people who are jealous. So what better way to be spirit in the world than to get your hands on as many subjects as possible? The story of God blowing himself into a million pieces. I don't actually know the story. I've heard it somewhere. It might be Hinduism. Is it Hinduism? Who has the god Brahma? I'm so glad we're all here too. And I love the direction our discussions take. It never stays where we start. It always goes somewhere else. And I'm okay with that. I love it. So if I am love and my purpose is to be love and that's it, I can do whatever I want. I don't have an end goal in mind. So Buddhism doesn't have a deity. They don't have any gods. They have bodhisattvas and things like that, but no deities. So what am I trying to say here? If I am love, I think it's Hinduism. I think you're right, Catherine. I think it's Hindu. But I believe that we are the physical embodiment of God in the world. And we get to be the answer to each other's prayers. We get to let the unseen see. We get to let the invisible be visible. And what I really just don't think there's any better way to do that, to express my purpose as being love, than as to learn and to be and to see and to hear and experience. I love experiences. The older I get, the less tangible stuff I want, and the more I want to go out and experience things. I would like to go to other countries. Since I can't at the moment, I watch a lot of travel shows because I'm Anthony Bourdain. The ego wants to create a story of success with all the knowledge learned. Yes! Thank you, Susan. Thank you. That's what I was trying to say. But may or may not happen. Right. If we can let go of the concept that there's a specific end goal in mind, then we can just learn for the joy of learning. There doesn't have to be a reason. Children, we stay childlike in a way because we learn because we can't not learn. We're curious, we're intelligent, we're interested in the world. And we can't not do that. It's part of who we are, which is a childlike aspect that I'm proud of. I like that I'll dive right in and learn anything. I like that I'm willing to listen to anyone's opinion, even if I initially think they're an idiot. I still will listen, and I still probably won't agree, but I'm still interested, like, how did you get to that? How did you come to this position that this is okay? I do want to know how people see that. Like, what's your thought process on that? I'll ask people that. What's your thought process on that? How did you come to that understanding? How did you come to that decision about the world and the people in it? Yes, so Susan and all of us, when we let ourselves off the hook and just learn for the sake of learning and just follow what gives us joy in every moment, we get led to the things that support us in doing more of that. Oh yeah, a real big hook. I'm so glad you were on here today. So Desire Map is that. It takes you away from having a specific, what's your resources? Right. It takes you away from fixating on a specific end goal. Like, I got to lose 5 pounds in 5 days. And instead it says, it has you go to, I want to be healthy. You're blunter. You just go straight to the punch and say, why are you so damn stupid? How can you be so blind? You idiot. Yeah, it's like, what's your source? Here, yeah, I like those questions too. Who funded that study? Who paid for the research? Are they connected to Big Pharma? Yeah, that's funny, Tanya. Before you decided if you'd believe him, you wanted to know his source. I always want to know the source of people who toss around statistics really make me mad. Where'd you get the statistics from? Who paid for the study that made up those statistics? Was it funded by Monsanto? Because, yeah. Of course we are. Same size bubbles. The people who don't resonate with us drop off, or they don't come. Who did the original study? And because you can do a lot with statistics. Anyway, point being, celebrate your curiosity. Was it placebo controlled? Was it double blind? Randomized? How big was the sample size? Was it 5 people? Right. What test did they use? I'm like that too. Like, don't tell me. You can shut people down real quick too when you start asking that stuff. Oh yeah? Where'd you get those statistics from? Who paid for that study? Who funded it? Who did they work for? Did they get a kickback? You're not the only one. Did you use stats to clean up the data? Yeah. Yeah. We want double blind, we want placebo controlled, and we want it funded by a non-profit disinterested party. And we want to see the original numbers. We'll make our own stats. Yeah. So, letting go of the end goal and focusing on the feeling will let you forgive yourself for putting so many limits on yourself, and forgiving ourselves for believing when we were told that we were wrong. We were told that we were wrong. We were told to settle down. We were told you need to focus on one thing. We were told we needed to stay at a miserable job for 25 years, and we believed that, but our nature could not do it. So when we could not do what we're not capable of, we judged ourselves. Well, everybody around me is telling me that's the right way, and I literally cannot do it. To do it would be to die. So therefore I must be defective, because I just can't make myself stay there. I just cannot do it. I can't even. So then our minds say, well, if you can't do what's right, then you have to be wrong. So not true. So not true. And those judgments are laid on us by limited thinkers. And they're limited thinkers because that's their path. Oh, well, good. Limited thinkers are on the limited thinking path, and that's not us. We're on the multi-potentialite path. We can do anything. We can do anything. You can look at what I do, and I make money off of it. I coach, I do Reiki, I'm a portrait artist, and I sell Young Living essential oils. I've got it narrowed down to 4. But I can do anything except keep up with the housework. And that's just because I'm not interested. I just couldn't care. There's so many other things I'd rather be doing than the dishes. I wash them when they have to be washed. It's kind of gross. But so what do I get called? Lazy. Sarah, God bless her, my daughter-in-law, her mother has called lazy her whole life. She's not lazy. She has different priorities. Yeah, I'd rather talk to you. And fortunately for me, my husband did the dishes this morning. Very lucky. He gets annoyed with me, but then he does it. So I've asked him, don't do it. Tell me to do it. He better get in there and do those dishes. Woman porn, right? That's woman porn. A man doing the dishes. Good. Yeah, don't call yourself lazy. Yeah, win-win. Win-win for me. Okay? I see, to come full circle back to this, when you follow your heart, a man cooking, big one. Big turn on. When you follow the way, when you follow your heart, when you focus and be present with what you're doing, you are like that river. You go around obstacles, and a lot of times you don't even notice them. A lot of times problems may be in your life and you're not even aware of them. If you're following your heart and you're in the flow, you just get slipped right past them. I had a nasty little cashier at Lowe's yesterday when I was out buying catification supplies. And I had picked up the wrong shelf bracket. So in stopping the process and going back to get the right shelf bracket, I got to come back. The nasty little cashier was busy with somebody else, so I got to step next door and get the friendly, fun cashier who had me out of there in about 30 seconds. She just guided. That's why when you get knocked off your path for the day, don't fight against it. It's probably a good thing. When you're getting delayed and you get frustrated with that, don't be. You don't know what you're missing. Oh, I was thrilled because, boy, she was a biatch. Oh, she was a mean little thing. I was all, damn. I just wanted to buy some shit. Why you gotta give me so much flack? I think that too. I say that a lot. I know, right? Because big box stores don't care. They're like honey badgers. Honey badger don't care. They don't care. They've got an endless supply of customers, and they know they'll always have customers. So they don't really have to focus on customer service. But we go there because it's easily accessible. I prefer Home Depot, but I have to drive 15 minutes or 20 minutes to get to a Home Depot, and I didn't want to yesterday. Honey badgers don't care. Have you seen that? Honey badgers don't care? Google that. It's on YouTube. Honey badger don't care. It's a whole video that was really popular a few years ago. Oh, it's so funny. Honey badgers don't give a shit. It's a little weird video clip that some guy made. It's hilarious. It just got really popular for a while. Honey badger don't care. It's just a way of saying just let it go. Honey badger don't care. Why should you? It's funny. You'll like it. It's good for a laugh. So, Roseanne, send me your email address. If I don't already have it, I'll look for it. Who else needs Desire Map stuff? I sent it to Nina. Who else did I send it to this morning? Oh, a couple of people from Facebook. Linda, your sister contacted me this morning. I sent her a bunch of stuff. Janice in accounting don't give a fuck. My husband just walked in on that. So, that makes no sense. No, you don't. You can get a Desire Map license with no background in anything whatsoever. They give you a book of stuff and you can do with it what you will, which is why everyone's different. So mine has a lot of therapy techniques in it, although it's not therapy. It has a lot of intuitive. If I get an intuition on something, I'll tell you. Sometimes we'll draw a card. It has a lot of meditation because I've taught meditation for a long time, and so you bring to that your own background and skill set. Thank you. I'm sure there's better. I'm sure there's worse. I was the right facilitator for you. So the people who are ready to do some serious work show up with me. Thank you. I am proud of the workshop and the work that gets done in there. I am proud of that. I will let myself have that. Well, it's intense. Try not to be too serious. Yes, you were. Thank you. Thank you. It's intense work. It's digging deep kind of work. It's productive. It's effective work. Life-changing but fun. There's creative stuff in there. There's some creative activities where you can let your creative self love deep. Yeah, loving deep work. And figuring out why it's hard to be love in the world. So, let go of the solid sound, non-flaky. It's definitely, it's practical stuff that you can use immediately. And it's a lifetime practice. So, it's nothing new. It's just the way it's presented is a little, it's got Danielle Laporte's spin on it. It's good. I like it. And then I take her stuff and put my own spin on it. If you want to become a facilitator, you get the license and put your spin on it. Me too. I'm glad. I'm glad it's been helpful. I'm glad it's sticking with you. Let me show you where my cards are. My little Core Desired Feeling cards are right there. Oh, with my oils and stuff. Why is that so hard to... Yeah, I'm having a hard time with this. There they are. I love those. Oh my gosh. I'm getting too old to sit on tiny stools. My knees are not what they used to be. I love them. Okay, I'm going to wrap this up because I have a desire... Oh, that's something I added to the Desire Map. No, Tanya did. She's very talented. Tanya made those. My sister makes handmade stuff like this too, but I don't think her Etsy shop is up yet. Very creative stuff. I don't think of stuff like that. Like my sister and Tanya and people like that think of creative card making and stuff, and my brain doesn't do that. So, but that's something I added to the. You can feel it. You can feel it. Oh, I added to the Desire Map workshop once a month a follow-up call for people who've been through the workshop as a big group. So I have that coming up tonight, and I have practical real-world things that I got to get done. And I got to call the propane company because they need a different card, Mom. Mom, are you on here? The propane company needs a different card. All right, I'm going to go. Thanks for the discussion, guys. I love where it went. I love that we talked about multi-potentialites. With the propane company? Freeman Gas? I'll call you. All right, I'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow's Course in Miracles and the Divine Law of Compensation. Yeah, it was great, wasn't it? Thank you. I'm glad everybody was able to be here live. Thank you for getting me off the hook. You got yourself off the hook. You were here today and heard exactly what you needed to hear. So watch that TED Talk. You'll really like it. I actually watched it several times. Sure, if you're here in the morning, you can ask. If it's something that you don't want to have wait, you can email me. Or we can talk about it in the morning too. I'll be back. I'm aiming for 9:30. I didn't make it today, but I am aiming to get on closer to 9:30 in the morning. Okay. Love you guys. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.